interacting with, like, how they are interacting with the other organisms and non-living matter in different ecosystems. So to survive in those ecosystems, what kind of modifications that are going to take place in animals, that we will see today. Okay. So as we discussed, what is ecology? So ecology is a study of interactions between organisms and the environment. So these animals, not only organisms, means animals, plants, microorganisms, everything. So all these has to interact positively with the nature, surrounding environment to survive. So in order to survive in a particular environment, these organisms has to adjust and has to modify some modify in some or the other manner. Okay, so to survive. So what kind of modifications we can expect, that we will see today. So adaptations. So we all know, like, adaptation can happen in either a body part or in the behavior. So what is adaptation? We have to adapt to a particular environment. Okay, that means we have to adjust. So in order to adapt, these organisms or animals, usually they undergo changes in two different manners. So one is in that is physical. That means they undergo some changes in body parts, or they also alter their behavior. Okay, so that these animals can survive in particular environment. And in what factors they will modify? Firstly, the breathing. Okay, so breathing has to be different when an organism or an animal is living in terrestrial environment and aquatic environment. That means the organisms or the animals which are living in water have a different breathing organs when compared to those animals which are living on land or terrestrial animals. So in terrestrial animals, we see lungs, which are primarily associated with the breathing or respiration. Whereas in aquatic organisms, we see gills. If you see fish, we see gills instead of lungs. So that means the breathing mechanism or the system itself, the respiratory system, is different in organisms which are living in water when compared to the organisms which are living on land, that is terrestrial animals. So that is first thing. And second is catching food. So when when they are acquiring the food, okay, they apply different techniques. That means the terrestrial animals and aquatic animals, and within terrestrial and aquatic animals also, based on their environment, they will change their techniques to obtain their food. And the hiding mechanism also will alter. Okay, hiding, then protection, defense. So all these will alter from their, like, from one organism to another organism based on their surrounding environment. So these changes are because they have to survive in a particular habitat. Okay, if the animal is not adapting, what happens? It will go extinct or it will completely die. So same, if you see a human being, if suppose we have to survive in particular environment, whether it is personal or professional, so what we have to do? We have to adjust to some extent. Then only we can continue in that. Suppose we have joined an office. If we are not controlling our behavior, what happens? We cannot survive. They will just fire. So if we are adjusting to that environment, we can survive. So in same way, physically or in the behavior part, these organisms has to get adapt or adjust to continue their survival. So these adaptations are mainly two types. One is physical and behavioral. So what are physical? So physical adaptations are body structures that allow an animal to find and consume food, defend itself, and to reproduce its species. So physical adaptation means the organs or some body parts has to modify. For what it has to modify? It has to modify to find some food, like for obtaining the food and to consume the food, okay, and defend, okay, defense, that is to protect itself from other organisms or predators, and also for the reproduction of its species. So to obtain or to get all these things, it has to modify itself. And this is for the survival of the animal in a particular environment. Here, if you see a plant, it is just like a stick. It is not having the leaves. So it is modified or adapted according to the environment. So we will look into some examples. First example of physical adaptation is camouflage. Okay, camouflage is, it is the animal which will change its color according to the surrounding. That means if this is present in leaves, okay, among the leaves, if it is present, it will turn into green. And when it is present on the branch of a tree, it will turn into brown. So why it is changing the color which will match its surrounding? Because to protect itself from the predators or other animals. It is a defense mechanism. So when it is of the same color as of its surroundings, the animal, the predators cannot recognize or cannot identify its presence. So for that purpose, it is changing its color. So this is one kind of physical adaptation. Then the next one is mimicry. So this is another process. So here mimicry means we all know we have, like, we usually mimic others. That means we behave like others. Maybe not only behavior, we produce sounds or we look like we can dress up like others. So these are all comes under mimicry. So here one of the examples is viceroy butterfly and monarch butterfly. There are two butterflies. One is monarch butterfly, which is poisonous in nature, and viceroy butterfly, which is non-poisonous in nature. And this viceroy butterfly, it mimics monarch butterfly. So if you see in the picture, both are looking similar, not exactly same, but they're looking similar. So this is because as this monarch butterfly is poisonous, other organisms, they will not come near to this butterfly, because all the insects or other organisms, predators, they don't usually harm these monarch butterfly because it is poisonous. But viceroy butterfly is non-poisonous. Hence, it can be eaten up by any of the predator. So this viceroy butterfly is mimicking the monarch butterfly to safeguard itself or to protect itself from the predators. So this is one of the physical adaptations. Then another one is chemical defense. So chemical defense is nothing but it is by production of some chemicals. So chemicals include venom, ink, sprays. So certain organisms or animals, what they will do, they to protect themselves, they will produce some kind of chemicals within their body, and they will try to like release the chemicals to stop the attack on them by the predators, and they will protect themselves. This also can happen in plants. So in plants, usually if we see, we have plant hormones, and also we have secondary metabolites. So secondary metabolites are nothing but the chemicals Like the best example is lemon. So if you see on lemon tree, when lemon, if you see, you'll get a pungent smell, okay, somewhat, which is not pleasant, okay, from outside. So that is because it is protecting. Also, we can see small spikes. Okay. So that means it is protecting itself from animals by before grazing. Okay. So that means, so this is one kind of physical adaptation to safeguard itself. Then another one is there are changes in their body. Okay, so body covering or parts. So some animals we see claws, and another, like in birds, claws you see in lions, tigers, then beaks in birds. Okay, feet, we see webbed feet in frogs. So like that. So armor plates in some animals, then skull, different shapes of skulls, then teeth also it will differ. Okay, then this, for example, elephant, it is having the trunk. So why if all are animals, but each animal have a special characteristic or special modification, special organ according to their environment. So why this elephants are having trunk? This is also a type of adaptation to clean itself, to assist in eat, drinking, then picking up things. For all these things, this trunk is assisting the elephant. So this adaptation is not just permitting for only one generation. It is through evolution. So this so that means you may ask the question that, okay, elephants are there in all the different continents now. Okay, like even in India we see elephants, in Africa. So but all elephants are having the trunk. So that means the environment may differ, but now their physical structure has become same. So why this is means, this is through evolution, not just one generation or two generations. So from where this particular organism has evolved, okay, and from where it has migrated. So the original environment. So for that, the adaptation has begun. So after successful generations, so the same adaptation has passed on to the next generation. Okay. Then next is behavioral adaptation. All these are the physical adaptation. So far, whatever we have discussed. Now, behavioral adaptation is nothing but how they behave. Okay. So to survive in particular environment, they have to behave in certain manner. So that means behavior means here to respond. Okay. So that comes under behavioral adaptations. So, so here it allows the animals to respond to the life needs. Okay, that means what are their needs, what are the necessities for their survival. So that for that it has to respond. So here the main thing is physical adaptations are the body structures, but behavioral adaptations are the animals action. So all animals may not react in a similar manner. Okay, so all depends on how we react to particular situation. Okay, similarly, like human beings, all persons don't react in the same manner in a particular situation. Okay, according to our response only, the future will depends on. Okay, the same way here also, how the animals respond to a particular environment or surrounding environment. So based on that only their survival is dependent on. Okay. So each organism has unique methods of adapting to its environment by means of different actions. So whether it is taking any particular action to continue its survival. So that all depends on the animals. Now, we have a system called homeostasis. So our body it tries to maintain the homeostasis. What is homeostasis? It is maintaining the constant internal condition in face of a varying environmental conditions. So that means, see, within our body, there is a condition, okay? There is an environment, and outside our body, there is another environment. So outside our body, we may have some variations. So our body has to maintain or cope up with the external environment, so that we have to maintain the balance in the environment. Okay. So here we have some examples. One is thickening fur in winter. That means during winter season, it will be very cold outside. So in that particular environment, the fur or skin has to get thickened in animals so that it can sustain heat within the body. And another thing is seeking of shade in heat. During summer seasons, the animal has to go into the shade and it has to survive. So this is how the response depends on. Suppose if it is hot outside and you have a tree which gives the shade, if the animal goes into the shade, it will survive. If it is not going, okay, if it is staying in the sunlight for longer periods, what happens? Dehydration happens and it will die. So that means how the animal is responding to a particular environment, how it is protecting itself. Okay, that is a behavioral change. Okay, then whenever a organism lives in high altitude, like mountains, at the top of mountains, there will be more production of red blood cells. So what is the role of red blood cells? So red blood cells, they carry oxygen, okay, because they have hemoglobin. So at higher altitudes, the oxygen level will be less, very, very less. So the organism may undergo hypoxic condition. That means breathlessness, all these things. Finally, if it is severe, the organism may lose its life. So for that, the body will produce more red blood cells so that more oxygen supply can happen to protect itself. So this is homeostasis. That means our body is trying hard to maintain our internal condition in par with the external environment. So in this, we have two types of organisms. They are endotherms and ectotherms. So what are endotherms? Endotherms are the animals that warm their bodies mainly from their own metabolism. So continuously in our body, we have metabolism. That means both anabolism and catabolism together called as metabolism. So we all know what is anabolism. It is a synthesis process. So from building blocks like amino acids or monosaccharides, then fats, we are getting the final product, like we are getting proteins, carbohydrates, lipids, all these things. So this is a synthesis process. Whereas in catabolism, it is the breakdown process. So it is a reverse of the anabolism. So both anabolism and catabolism together, it is called as metabolism. So during this process, some amount of energy is lost. It is released. Or it is stored in the form of ATP. So all these changes will generate heat, which is mainly retained by the warm-blooded animals. So these are nothing but endotherms. They maintain their own temperature. They generate their own temperature. So that whatever the temperature outside, it will constantly maintain the body temperature. So for example, human beings. If we see what sometimes like though in winter or summer seasons, our body temperature will be almost constant. So that is because our metabolism is generating heat and it is maintaining our body temperature. Okay. So here how this body temperature is maintained. So this is mainly by some modifications, physical modifications through which our body temperature is maintained. So one is generating fat layers. So more fat layers in the body can sustain the heat, and fur and feathers in birds. So these are all modifications which can insulate the body to retain the heat. And in winter season, so usually our muscles starts shivering. So when we shiver, the heat will be generated. So whatever the heat is generated, so that will be retained. And even it is winter outside, it is cold outside, our body temperature will be retained. So this is one adaptation. And some animals, they undergo hibernation. So during cold conditions, usually in some countries, it will be very cold. Always there will be snowfall. So it will be very difficult for the organisms to get their food. So what they will do, if there is no food, no energy. So in such conditions, if these animals starts working, they will lose their energy, which is there in the body, and they cannot get energy from outside because there is no food. So what these animals do, they will stop working and they will become inactive until they get food. So they are retaining the energy in their body by making themselves inactivate. Okay, then canines. Okay, they like dogs. Okay, they also, they will use panting as a means of temperature regulation. See how dogs, the posture. Okay, they will regulate the temperature by some postures. Okay, then ectotherms. Ectotherms are animals that warm their body from external environment. Okay, that means they are absorbing heat from the external environment, and accordingly they will warm up. Hence they are called as cold-blooded animals. But here the problem is their body temperature depends on the external environment, because they are getting the heat from outside. If outside environment is winter season, if it is cool, so how can they get? They will get less heat. And if it is summer, they will get adequate heat. So that means according to the seasons, their body temperature will fluctuate. So that is the problem with the ectotherms. And how these ectotherms adapt. Okay, so here you have marine fish. That means those which are there in the oceans, and invertebrates. So they live in water. So whatever it is, like how they are getting their temperature, okay, that we are looking at. So usually these fish or like invertebrates, they stay in the same temperature in the ocean. And when the weather is warm, that means during summer seasons, the weather will be warm and the water also will become heat. During that time, they will become active. And whenever there is winter or the environment is cool, the water will become cool. Sometimes they may freeze. So during this frozen conditions, what happens? These animals become inactive. So again, to make themselves active, they will travel to the sunny places. Okay, they will stretch out for maximum temperature, and they will get their heat, okay, from the environment. And lizards, they will all go alternatively to sun and shade. So in that way, they are regulating their temperature. And amphibians like frogs, okay, turtles. So what they will do, they will also warm up by moving into sun and again diving into the warm water. And when they want to become their body cool, they will go to shade. So like that, it is moving and it is controlling its temperature. So this is regarding the temperature, how they regulate their body. Okay. Then next is adaptation. So adaptation, like according to their food, okay, the diet. So that means if we see the teeth of animals, we can know the what is its like food habit. So the adaptation of animals' teeth according to their diet or food habits. So here if we see in the herbivores like deer, goat, we see more molar teeth than canines. So this is because they chew tough grass and other plants. So for chewing purpose, they require molar teeth. So in herbivores, usually we see molar teeth. And in carnivores, we see, like in lions, we see sharp canine teeth. So that they'll kill and they'll tear the meat. So that kind of modification we can see according to the diet. Then in which animals we see these adaptations. So all species have experienced adaptation and will continue to slowly adapt as the next generations are born. So it is an evolutionary process. It is not that in a single generation we adapt. Okay, it is simple, like common sense. Like if we suppose if we are moving from one area to another, so in one generation, we cannot completely adapt from one country to other country. So next generation will easily adapt, and subsequent generations, they will become like more familiar with the environment. In the same way, uh, to the environment, subsequent generations will become more adapted by either physical or behavioral modifications. So we will identify certain species from which all these groups and the reasons for their success. So mammals, birds, reptiles, and amphibians. So already along the evolution, we saw some modifications which are coming subsequently to the next generation. So we will discuss some of these examples. Okay, we have lots of examples, but we will discuss some examples. So how they are successful. First is mammals. In mammals, they are endothermic or warm-blooded. So all these mammals will have hair. Okay, some type of hair they will have, that is fur. But according to the environment, there will be some specialization. So in white polar bear fur, it will be more thickened because they are living in very cold conditions when compared to those animals which are living in hot conditions, hot environment. Then method of locomotion. So how they are moving. Okay, what locomotion means movement. So how the movement across the environment. So that also will vary according to the environment. Then care for young. So how they are caring. So these are all, they differ between organism to organism. Then in birds, if you see, some will have long length legs. Okay. So the example is roseate spoonbill. So this is the bird, pink color bird. So that is having the long legs. Then second is laughing gull. So this is having a foot webbing. So this is the example. This white one which is having the black feet. Okay. So they are having a web shaped feet. Okay. Web means the fingers. You cannot, they are not divided. They will be attached. That is webbing. Then the below one is long billed curlew. So this is having a different beak shape. So this is having, if you compare the three birds, they are having different shapes of beaks. So this is because how they are fishing or how they are obtaining their food. If the length is very high, so they will like vertically they have to take. So they will have long beak. So they have to hunt very deeply. So like that, according to the way they are obtaining their food also, their beak shape may differ. Okay. Then next is reptiles. Reptiles are ectothermic or cold-blooded. So here we see different type of scales. So if we see snakes, we'll have scales on the snakes. So that will differ, and the color of snakes also will differ. Okay, so means some are living in like along the dried grass. Okay, they will be brown in color so that they will mix up with the environment. Some will be black in color, some will be green in color, which live usually on top of trees. They'll be green in color so that they will mix along with the trees. Okay, then some undergo hibernation. So as I told you, they will become inactive. Okay, and some lay eggs on land. So these turtles and tortoise, they will usually, they will travel to the land and they will lay their eggs on the seashores, and they will go back into the sea, and they will come back after certain time, and they will take their small young ones and along with them. So that means they are protecting. They will come from other continents also. Okay, traveling very long, far from, and they will lay their eggs. This is to protect their eggs from predators. Okay, and they will protect it, they will cover the eggs with the sand, and they will keep them safely. Okay, whereas some lay eggs within the water also, and then the leg structure and position also may vary in reptiles. Okay, the next is amphibians. Amphibians are the animals which can live both in water as well as on land. So they are also ectothermic, and they lay eggs in water. Okay, and they will be usually partially or fully webbed feet. Like if we see frogs, the feet is webbed. The fingers, you cannot differentiate between the fingers. Then they have lungs, or through skin also they can respire. So both are possible in amphibians. Then next is defense mechanism. So how they defend themselves. You have different defense mechanisms. One is camouflage, which I told you, like they will change the color according to the environment. And also snakes. Snakes, they produce venom, like it is a chemical defense mechanism. So that is another type. Then mimicry. So you have Mexican milk snake. Okay, sorry. So this milk snake, it will mix, it is like a camouflage, it will mix with the environment. Okay, and it will like protect itself, it will defend itself from the predators. Then bright colors. So here you see the red color frog. It is skunk and poison arrow frog. So it is very poisonous frog. Okay, which will display in bright colors. Then some animals like hedgehog quills and deep antlers. So these animals, they will have small spikes. So this here you can see small animal which is having long spikes on its body, so that the predators cannot kill or cannot feed on these animals. So these are some of the animal adaptations which are adopted for the purpose of defense. Then we will discuss some very specific adaptations. So for example, all animals, mostly they will have their eyes to their sides. But if we observe, the lions will have their eyes which are present in front when compared to other animals. Why is it so? So this is because the eyes of the lion are in the front so that it can understand the distance between itself and the prey which it is hunting. Okay, so that means So that means it is to understand the distance between the prey and the lion. So it is having the eyes in the front. So it is one type of adaptation, because the animals which are hunting, so there are only few animals which will vigorously hunt. Okay, lion is among them. So that it is having that particular type of adaptation in its body. This is a physical adaptation. Then another one is, it is having the mane, that is hair. Male lion will have hair. And what is the purpose of that particular color for that particular animal? So this is because this, whatever the thick hair, you cannot see this kind of thick hair in lioness. Only in the male lion only you can see. And also you don't see such kind of hair in other animals. So why it is there only in lion? This is because to look larger, okay, to appear larger, because lion is a very dominant animal. Okay, so it survived through hunting. So to look itself um, like larger, to appear larger, so it will have that mane, and also to protect its throat from attack. So this mane will help. Okay, then what the color of the animal? Okay, so why this lion is having that particular color? That is because it is according to the environment, so that the other animals, it is the animals which it is hunting, they should not get alert by looking at them, so that this animal is having light color skin, so that it can silently attack on other animals. Okay, so these are some of the physical adaptations. Then next is in giraffe. So giraffe can hold, they can survive for longer periods without water. Okay, this why this is because always the water may not be available to the animals. So giraffe, it will drink the water whenever it is available, and it will survive for weeks without the water. And even with a little amount of water which is coming from the dew, or morning time will have small water droplets, right? So from that water also, and also we will have some water content which is present in the food it is taking. So with that little water also, it can survive. Okay, so this is the adaptation that got in giraffe. Then another is long neck. So it's a very interesting thing that why giraffe is having very long neck. So this is also an adaptation. So that means this extra length of giraffe is because to spot the predators from the distance. If it is having a small neck, it cannot look for predators or the animals from very long distance. So if the leg is very long, it can easily spot the predators from a very long distance. So to protect itself, it has adapted that particular physical adaptation. Okay, and the number of vertebrates are similar in both giraffe as well as in human beings. That is one interesting thing. Then another one is zebra. So zebra also, its adaptation is that it can run very fast. Okay, and it usually defend itself by kicking and biting. So it will kick and bite. So using that, it will defend itself. And also it will have black and white stripes. So even using that, it can protect itself from the predators. Okay, so these are the some of the physical and behavioral adaptations. Okay, so if you have any doubts, you can ask.
No, ma'am, it's clear.
Ma'am, we want second some important questions, ma'am.
Yeah, because let me tell you, I didn't deal with the second semester. Okay, I don't know the syllabus also. I usually take third semester only. So you better ask the lecturer who has dealt with this second semester. Okay, because I don't take all the subjects. Okay, so I have no idea about syllabus as well as questions.
Okay.
Okay, so you can ask the lecturer who has taken the classes for you. Okay, if you have any doubts with the regarding this topic, I think somebody is not understanding classes or something in the chat box. If you have any questions, you can ask.
No, ma'am, it's easy. We can understand easily.
You have the
When
pictures.
compared to second sem, third sem is looking very much easy.
Yeah, I can understand, but I have not taken the classes for second sem. So I have no idea. So I cannot simply give some questions randomly, right? So you can ask those lecturers. Okay.
We don't have their
Okay.
number, ma'am.
Okay. I don't. You can contact the college or else in the department.
No use, ma'am.
Okay, because I have no idea. Sorry, because if
My
I'm
blood hero
okay, I will
Okay,
try
ma'am, no
to get
problem.
her. If possible, I will let you know. Okay. Okay, then
Okay, ma'am,
regarding
for
these
this
topics, I will give in the next class.
third
Okay.
third sem, ma'am. Third sem important questions, ma'am.
Yeah, yeah. I will look for some previous question papers and I will share it in the group. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much.